You'd like to know how I pulled through it. I wish I could tell you. I was determined, I suppose. Nobody threw me a rope. Schooling, I learned my letters from the names on shops. Learned to tell the time from the steeple clock at St. Giles's under the direction of a drunken cripple. I was vagabond, errand boy, labourer, porter, clerk, chief manager, small partner, Josiah Bounderby of Coketown. And those, madam, are the antecedents and the culmination of Josiah Bounderby. You may force him to swallow boiling fat, but you shall never force him to suppress the facts of his life.
Welcome to our presentation. Today, me and my friends Bafreen and Asia will show you another point of view of the character Mr. Bounderby. At the beginning, with the childhood of Mr. Bounderby, I'm gonna talk about his suffering. Bounderby is one of the characters in the novel Hard Times by Charles Dickens. He is fat, short, bald, and he has a rounded face. He is a rich man who owns factories and banks. In a scene, Mr. Bounderby and Mrs. Gradgrind, she is the wife of his friend, were talking. He was telling her about his traumatic childhood, how he was suffering and he was born in a ditch. He suffered from inflammation of the lungs. He was so weak that he thought he wouldn't live. Saddest kid, and he was wearing a dirty rag that no one could touch him. He spent his 10th birthday in a ditch. His mother left him with his grandmother who drinks all time. She put him in the egg box. No one has laid a robe on him. No one has helped him to live. He learned the letters from store names, and he knew the time from the charge clock. He was homeless and did several jobs, including messenger, laborer, and janitor. And now, let's continue with Bafreen.
During the period of Mr. Bounderby's growth and going through all these difficult, a feeling of hatred was implanted inside him toward all kind of emotion, because when he was young and sick and thrown in that box, as Eilaf said, he wished his mother would come back and save him, and perhaps he could have forgiven her. You know that children do not easily hate their parents. So during the period of his waiting for her, this long time broke his heart and killed the hope that was inside him. And this is what leads to make a person spiteful and hateful after waiting in a feeling of love and desire to forgiveness. After this disappointment, the desire to take revenge increased from poverty and the hope and imagination, all kind of joy that he couldn't feel it during his childhood. And this revenge achieved by his success. His personality similar to a robot, and this is what made him a person far from feeling and angry toward any kind of feeling and emotion, because he only cared about bragging about himself and talk about his past and act in an exaggerated way with a pride instead of pain. So I expect that he pretend that he has moved on from his past and suffering, but in fact, because his mother abandoned him, he maybe still feel inferiority complex. Perhaps he hasn't forgetting what happened to him, so he keeps mentioning his past frequently to anyone and anywhere he goes. And now my friend Asia will continue.
One of the self-made and contradictory characters in the novel because of what he lives in his childhood and because of his difficult life. Bounderby's contradiction lies in his observing Louisa from her youth and his apparent inclination towards this child, and proving this by his expressing his clear feelings and looks when kissing the cheek of Louisa, who feels disgust that his strange behavior proves his thirst for love. that he was denied in his childhood and his strange inclination and reaction to anyone who asks him for help in something or when he asks him for money. He immediately mentioned his story, his suffering, his childhood, and his difficult time. And he mentioned if you want something, you have to work hard and effort to change your reality. He is supposed to be a more compassionate and tolerant person because he lived through difficult days. But it is clear that the suffering was reflected in a contradictory, cruel, and shocking way through his action and his dealings with others. So, the difficult time either make you a good person or make you a cruel and no person. Thank you.